Okay, we're back in Lulu's garage. Day 2 of taking photos for the auction. So I'm working on the second box. And as I said, I was going to drop in and show you a few things that we discover along the way. The very first lot that I go to take a picture of, we have these 4 mortise locks from Maori Wheeler in the Arabic pattern, which was popular. We'll see how these things do. The last sale, actually, mortise locks did pretty good. Anyway, I'm laying them out so I can shoot them. And what do we find? Look at that. Yowza. What do you do about that? Well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to continue on. I'm going to include it. Obviously, make a big point of that. Who's going to miss it? But anyway, somebody wanted to use that. It's a possibility. So I'm going to include it in there. But that just shows you what happens as you go along here. The other thing, while I'm writing down these notes, that you should be aware of, probably already are, but when I describe these things, I tell people, I call that the lock front, because that's the part that's mortised into the door, so it's flush with the edge of the door. But you need to know that the size of that, and your door might already have a mortise pocket. If not, you can make one to fit that. And then the other dimension you need is the distance between the edge of the door and where the spindle goes through the lock. That's called the back set. So I always give people that dimension. So with those two dimensions, you can decide, because not every door has a rail going up and down, that's wide enough to accept a mortise lock like that, or whatever size, because the mortise locks came in dozens of different sizes. Anyway, that's the info you need. The other thing about these, check it out. You can see it says MW Company on there. Okay, and over here, it gives you the patent date. It's probably going to be in the 80s. I can't quite, yeah, it's in the 80s there. Because that's definitely, that design came from the 1880s. Here's a couple of interesting notes real quick, but check this out. We were saying, well, it could be European, could be American, but you look on the back there, that's definitely an American-sized spindle, so I would say that that's American made. And this one here, I just find interesting because it's a pretty small doorknob, really. But check out the back. See, that takes an entry size spindle. So this was like on an entry set, and probably was on the inside, I suppose, because it was probably a big one on the outside. But just just to let you know, you never know how these things were designed. And here's something else we should talk about briefly. Check this out for these mortise locks. That's called a T-astragal. And it was designed so that it would make your doors more weather tight, because the doors would close and overlap like that. So you had to carve out the edge of the door to fit this lock like that. And then you had a special keeper that was designed the same way to fit in there. This one here is decorated. Okay, it doesn't fit that lock, but that's the way that you would put. This would be the keeper side. So you see these locks out there, and if you ever need them, they're not easy to find. But on the other hand, nobody really wants them. But we'll find out in the sale. So here's the old L&N Railroad, Louisville and Nashville Railroad, made famous in song and story. A couple of interesting things. You see that rosette is fixed onto the shank there. And notice how it's all bent out of shape because somebody couldn't unscrew all the screws and they just pried this thing off. So my guess is that this thing was on a railroad car. That's what I think, because they made a lot of railroad knobs like that. So anyway, that's the way we're going to sell it. Somebody else can straighten that out. But man, that's heavy cast. That's not lightweight. So it's going to take a little bit of work by somebody. But when you're done, turn it right side up. That's a beautiful thing. So here's a nice push plate. This is a pattern I recognize, but I forget the name. But see what's going on here. If you put it in the light, you see those marks there? That's somebody started to polish this thing. So I'm going to give this a little tune-up and see if I can improve the surface a little bit. So I gave it a quick scrub in the old sauce there. That same solution we made up a few days ago, and you can see what it does there. It kind of just evens out the surface and the color. And yeah, so when I let the chickens out this morning about 7:30, it was 40 degrees down here, but right now it's probably 75. But anyway, that the water was sitting out, and it was nice and warm by the time I put this thing in there. But there you go. You can see, and you can see some little extra wear here because that's where people were pushing on it, and that's where the screws were covering up the original finish. But anyway, I think that looks a lot better. And just to continue with the saga of spindles and shanks, I mean, you check these guys out. Obviously, they're a pair, right? Definitely a pair, but look at that. They have different shanks on them. So the diameter is the same, but you're not sure that if you find a the same rosette's going to fit on both of them. And there you go, that's the European size spindle. But just to show you one more example of the variety that you're going to find out there when if you're ever trying to actually put hardware onto doors. So when it comes to glass doorknobs, these things are a dime a dozen. I think they're even making them today. Even look at that shank there, But these are like absolute cheese ball. Okay, so I mean, if you're gonna put glass doorknobs on your house, hey, at least step up to the plate and buy something that's pretty nice, And they made many varieties, but these guys are much nicer. See, this is even different side to side. See, that's kind of a dome top, and this side over here, that's like polished off the top. You put them side to side, nobody ever knows the difference. But they made many different varieties. So that's why I'm putting that in the sale. That's why I'm not putting that in the sale. And then just to make this interesting, that's a pretty good one. These are clear oval one. That's a good doorknob right there. I mean, I could put that in as an individual item, but this would be a little shaky to put that in as just a single lot. So between the two of them, hey, they'll bring something. Well, I'm halfway into box number 3. I haven't done one little video cutout yet. But hey, look at this. What do you think? What are we thinking here? I'm thinking that looks pretty good. What do you think? I think that might be a match. I'm going with it. Okay, so we were talking earlier about these little thumb turns. And just to show you how that works, here we have an entry lock. I think it is. It has 2 keyways, swing cover. It's a famous Maui Wheeler Arabic pattern, and I mean, nobody's ever translated. I think this is just somebody just stylized Arabic writing. That's what I think. Anyway, So that would be the exterior. Okay, and it has the two keys, the master key and then the latch key. Okay, and this being the master key, the lock, and this being the latch. Okay, so on the inside, you would have this little thumb turn, which fits in there like this. Do this without that camera. Do that like that. And when you turn the thumb turn, it works the latch. Now, you will recall when I was talking about these, I believe I said I turned for the master key. Well, I was wrong again. It's the latch so that you don't have to put a key in there from the inside. This is only on the inside. I'm not sure why this is on this side, except that possibly maybe it's a left-right door. You can put the lock in, either going either way. So either side would be interior. But anyway, that's what those little things are for. And so what's the other thing you find a little unusual? You have two passage knobs and a passage size spindle going through, which if you ever ask somebody, would say that is an entry door lock, but it has a small spindle. So you never know how these things are configured. So you have to be prepared for pretty much everything. So these are for stopping, I guess what you'd call French windows. And my thinking is that these things actually might do pretty well in the sale. Because I think, even though I think they're practically brand new, I bet you they were fairly expensive. And a couple of people might figure that out and might really want them because they are really good quality. Solid brass, nice design, good workmanship. So I think there's some value here. So if these things do well in the sale, hey, you heard it here first. If they don't, well, we'll just skip right on by. But nonetheless, something to look for. And something to look at in terms of quality. I mean, check out how that's put in there. See, that's been hammered in there. They pinned that right on down there, okay? They didn't just stick some cheesy little screw or nut or bolt in there. So these things are well made. And see that back there? That's pinned on there as well. So, I mean, this could be foreign made, possibly English, French, I don't know. But I think they're going to attract some attention. We're going to find out. Something interesting. This is the famous Ceylon pattern, Ceylon. Don't ask me where that name came from. But these are like going on turn of the century, late 90s, after early 1900s. Kind of cheaply made. They're stamped. This one's a little heavier weight. But what's interesting, they're the same design, okay? But check out the shanks, two totally different shanks. Not that it would matter too much putting it on your door, except, you're going to have to find different rosettes for each one of those doorknobs. So I'm looking at this doggy knob, and I'm thinking this is a pretty nice one, actually. I mean, lots of times you see wear around the edges on that neo-Grec design. There's very little wear there, just a tad there. You see lots of times the nose or the face is messed up. You see a little wear on the eyebrows, but that's it's just minimal, but I think it's nice color. I mean, this is pretty good. And on the back, the lettering is nice and sharp. I think that's a nice example. And I'm looking at this lion knob with a footed shank. I'm not sure who made this, but could be a couple different companies. Finger band's kind of worn down there, but that's what happens. The face is quite good. But hey, remember that other rosette we had back in there for a footed shank knob? I think we matched it up. What do you think? I think that looks pretty good. In fact, I'm going with that. So that's the way you'll see it in the auction. I mean, that's a nice. This is a hard to find doorknob. This thing is scarce, and I think it should bring some money also. We'll find out. Now we're looking at this pair of porcelain doorknobs. And remember we were talking about the rosettes and that little insert. So here we have the insert and the rosettes, but they didn't take that little piece off that door that thing threads into. So this guy's going to be SOL. But I think these have some age to them. They're American, okay? That passage size American. They have nice hand-painted designs on them. And you see there's a little gold, there was gold paint around the outside of those rosettes. So I'd say these things have some age going back 70s, 60s, maybe not that early, but maybe late 60s. So here we have it, History Hardware. Well, thank you for watching this episode. Appreciate you giving us a thumbs up. And hey, tell your friends to come on down to Lulu's Garage.